Hello. Yes, I'm in the correct spot.
Okay, hello. Okay, so I'll be the one changing the slides, so just let me know.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All righty.
Do we just go? I need some more direction here.
Go for it.
Awesome. Well, hey, everybody. It's good to see some old friends and make some new friends. I'm Emma Mori. I am the program director at the University of Texas Health Science Center at Houston. And I'm actually the new program director. So I took over from Mark Horman July 1st, but I'm not new to the program. I actually trained here after leaving my home state of North Carolina. And I always tell people my story is that I thought for sure after 3 years that I was going to go back to North Carolina, but Houston and specifically Texas sucked me in. And it's been a wonderful place to both train and grow as a clinical faculty. So Dr. Aranda did a really great job of sort of highlighting some of the things I wanted to talk about with Texas, but also specifically about Houston and our program in particular. Like she mentioned, even within this room, we've got big programs, small programs, and hopefully you guys will find a program that works for you. But I would like to say that if you learn by seeing, then our program is definitely the right fit for you because we are located within the largest city. We get a good variety of patients and specifically a good diversity of patients. Also, we clearly are in the Texas Medical Center, which we all know is the largest in the nation, if not the world. And so typically you're going to get exposed to a lot of those things you see in books and a lot of those things you might not ever see again in books. So for me, it was really important to have that breadth and variety. What's nice is we do also have breadth and variety to our training sites. So you're not only going to be working within the medical center at Children's Memorial Hermann Hospital, which is a children's hospital within a larger hospital, but also we work through our safety net hospital, Lyndon B. Johnson County Hospital, as well as MD Anderson, which we all know is the cancer center. Additionally, on certain rotations like adolescent medicine, you'll rotate through our juvenile detention center. We still have a traditional continuity clinic where half a day a week you are assigned a patient panel, which is specifically your patients. And for me, that was very meaningful because I am an outpatient pediatrician. So it was nice as a resident to be able to have a baby that I got my intern year who turned into a 3-year-old by the time I was ready to transition out of residency. And those clinics are sometimes located in the medical center, but if you're definitely interested in more of an outpatient or even a different type of patient population, we can make arrangements for that. We know that COVID has definitely highlighted the need for well-being and being very deliberate about well-being. And we're lucky to have 2 faculty members who really are very passionate about integrative medicine and self-care. And one of them was able to secure a grant this year. And so we've been able to revamp a lot of our curriculum around that area. And we started off with a yoga session, which you might have seen on our Instagram page. And we're doing a lot of other things around not only our own well-being, but also how to help our patients in that area. We're also particularly proud of our leadership tracks. So these are not specific tracks you apply through as a 4th year, but more if you join our residency program and as an intern, you identify that you have a special interest in advocacy, medical education, global health, integrative medicine or primary care, you have an opportunity to apply to them at the end of your intern year. If accepted, you'll be matched with a faculty member who also shares that interest and really get really solid one-on-one mentoring to help guide you through a project that you ideally will complete at the end of your 3rd year. Another area we also like to highlight is diversity. And I know, once again, that was sort of talked about by nature of where we are and where we train. It's a beautiful opportunity to get exposed to a lot of different cultures, a lot of different ethnicities, a lot of different races, a lot of intersectionality. But we're also very deliberate within this programs, especially with new leadership, being intentional in terms of holistic review of our applicants, making sure we're creating a supportive environment for those who choose to train with us, not only within our program, within the GME level. We've got a very supportive chair who's created a role, a vice chair of diversity and inclusion. And so he supported a lot of our initiatives around bringing in speakers, doing a lot of education of both faculty as well as the residents, and also keeping us accountable with a diversity dashboard. I think, and I'm going to end by just talking about our numbers. So we take 24 categorical pediatric residents a year. Addition will have typically 2 to 3 pediatric neurology residents, 1 to 2 PD genetic residents as well, who will train with us. And then we've got a host of fellowship programs within our program. So if you know you're interested in subspecialty training, you do have an opportunity to identify a mentor in that area and hopefully stay with our program for your fellowship training. And thank you so much for your time.
All right, I guess it's my turn now. So my name is Vaibhav. I'm actually one of the chief residents for my program at Baylor College of Medicine, Children's Hospital San Antonio. Our program director is Dr. Gilger, and our program coordinator is Lisa Kuchik. And she's going to be the one that you're going to be talking to most frequently during this entire process. So some of the things to kind of know about us is that we are a Baylor associated program, same as like the one in Houston, just located in San Antonio. Some of the benefits is that we are a more medium-sized program. We typically have about 13 residents per year, making up a total of 39 residents in our program. We do actually, we have the only freestanding children's hospital in San Antonio. Our community that we typically serve is typically a very underserved community, and so we see a lot of different kinds of, presentations of different diseases, things that you might not typically see in like other places that we see fairly frequently here. There is a different individualized curriculum that we will kind of like go through, not necessarily something that you apply as when you're coming in, but specifically kind of tailored towards whether you're interested in going into fellowship or general pediatrics. And then we'll kind of work to kind of get you placed with a mentor who can help you kind of guide you along those paths. And again, like Dr. Omori mentioned, with COVID kind of taking like the front with everything that's been going on in the past year, we've also kind of revamped our like resident wellness. We've been putting a huge focus on it this past year specifically. Our resident wellness committees have been doing some amazing work. We're usually doing something like every month. And if you want to see some of those things, you can actually take a look at our Instagram or our Twitter. Most of our stuff right now, I think, is on our Instagram. So I would definitely make sure to take a look at that. The other things that we're also kind of working with right now is that we are trying to kind of emphasize resident scholarship. We have an excellence in teaching program where we want to kind of like help residents become better teachers, and then also see if they can kind of publish works as far as actual like scholarship and into MedEd portal and things like that. We don't have like a large number of fellows at our program, but a lot of our residents specifically choose this program because of that. It allows a lot of one-on-one or close teaching time, like with the faculty and attendings, without having fellows that are kind of in the way or taking procedures or things like that. And then I'll kind of go into our curriculum right now. So we are in the process of transitioning to an X+Y model. And so we're going to be planning on transitioning to a 4+2+2 model. And if you guys have questions about that, I can go into that in a little bit more depth later on. But part of what we're doing right now as well, like I mentioned before with excellence in teaching, we're also going into more QI. We have a program that's called Chef as well that is specifically kind of geared towards teaching education via nutrition for families and residents. And so that's also going to be launching soon. And then with our diversity initiatives, one of the things that we've been doing is that we've been de-emphasizing our step 1 and step 2 scores, since they're becoming, they're focusing less on the actual numbers and more of just whether you pass or fail at this point. So we started to kind of step back from like looking at the actual scores instead and doing a more holistic kind of approach to the way that we're, recruiting. And so over the past 3 years, as we've been doing this, we've been having more and more diverse classes, and we're happy to have I'd say maybe like half of our classes like from like all over Texas, and then the other half is from like all over the country at this point, actually at this time right now. Our graduates will typically go into different fellowships. We have a whole list of them on the screen right there right now. We also have an equal number of them going into private and also academic general pediatrics as well. And then just to kind of finish up with just like things about San Antonio, it is one of the largest cities in Texas right now. It's more of a kind of flat and spread out kind of population rather than being all clustered in the downtown area. We do primarily have a low socioeconomic status patients with lots of medical complexity that we take care of, as well as immigrant and refugee children who will frequently stop in San Antonio before going to different parts of the country or before they meet up with their family later on. Some of the things that we love to see and that you probably will see as well as the Riverwalk, the Alamo. Also, the Pearl District is a new thing that's kind of come up in the last couple of years. So if you're ever in town, make sure to come out and check out those things. And we look forward to seeing all of you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm one of the chief residents that's part of the Texas Tech El Paso. Our program director is Dr. Gutierrez with our program coordinator, Alma. And those are the two people who, if you're really interested in the program, who you should definitely email so they can answer any questions, or if you just want to know a little bit about our program. So we have a big emphasis on border health and advocacy curriculum. We do see a lot of patients, and a lot of people think about when we say border health and advocacy, they just think about Mexico, which is not the case. Like, I don't know if you guys have been hearing the news, like we're already expecting people coming from Afghanistan to come here to the military bases here. And we're already expecting to see a huge shift in the population that we're going to be getting the privilege to help and see different things that that you probably won't be able to see at any other program. Other than, from Mexico, we see people from Salvador, from Guatemala, from all over the country. And I don't want you guys to think that just because that's the only population you're going to see. We also have a huge military base, and you'll see people from all over the United States that'll be coming to this program. We do have a fantastic simulation center. We try to rent it out at least once a year where we could practice our procedures and try to get as much practice as possible. We see everything from rare and complex diseases, sometimes that you would only see in books because people are coming from underserved areas. Sometimes they don't have the treatment that's up to date, or people, there's a general pediatrician who's trying to treat a patient who has cancer, and they'll come here and we'll see it at a stage where you have to read about it. Like, nowhere in the United States would you see someone as complex as it would be at this moment. Another thing I would like to highlight is that because there is no fellows here, you will be the first one to do procedures. I remember still my first night here, one of the first times touching a newborn in about 3 years, I was putting in umbilical lines. Like, no one's gonna tell me you can't do procedures here because I was there. I know there is. We are pretty happy it's a pediatric program. So me telling you that residents here are happy, it's, everywhere they're gonna be happy. They're pediatric residents. We do have something that's called a new parent elective, where you get to have 6 months off just to dedicate to your baby. And of course, when you come back, we love seeing pictures. We love about y'all talking about the milestones, because we just love milestones, because again, we're pediatricians. And we want to hear something that you learned that you will now be teaching parents. That way we also have that experience and we can also share with our patients. We do still continue the clinic. So once a week, you will get a half day to see the continuity of clinic. You will see your patients, and hopefully you get to see those patients grow up, and you're going to be very proud and be just like me, taking pictures with them and having them on your phone, if the parents allow you, of course. We do have we do accept approximately 12 residents per year. We have one of the largest hospitals here, and we do get the complex patients, not just from El Paso, but we'll get them from New Mexico, we'll get them from Mexico, we'll get them from all over the place. El Paso is ranked one of the top safest cities. We have affordable cities. There's lots of hiking. If you guys love hiking, this is it. If you guys don't like snow, this is the place to be. You will never have to wake up 30 minutes before to clean up snow here. because it just doesn't snow. We have 2 international airports, one here in El Paso. You guys will be able to choose which is the cheapest ticket that is more reliable for you in case any time that you want to travel. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.
All right, it looks like, can everyone hear me? All right, so it looks like it's the question answer portion of our breakout room. Does anyone have a specific question that they want to ask right now? I do have a couple questions listed on here if we don't.
Can I just ask a really quick question?
Go ahead.
I'm curious. So obviously you work with a lot of immigrants, like Spanish speaking immigrants, I'm guessing. How much emphasis is it that like residents need to know how to speak Spanish? Like, obviously I'm guessing that's a plus, but like, how does that work in your programs?
So I'll go ahead and take this question. Like you said, it is a plus if our residents can speak Spanish, but it's not like a requirement by any means that any of our residents have to be able to speak Spanish. We have translators either through an iPad or like even by the phone. We typically try to go through the iPad just because it's a little bit easier since they can talk and see like a person's face. But and it's not just Spanish either. Like we have like several languages that are available for translation through that method. So it's definitely not a requirement by any means.
Thank you.
I'd like to answer as well, if that's okay. My name is Ophelia. I'm one of the third-year residents at Tech El Paso. I'm Vietnamese. I'm from California. When I came here, I had the Spanish grade level of a 6-year-old, so maybe like kindergarten. But then because my program is so diverse, I had one friend who just only spoke to me in Spanish. So by now, I'm in my 3rd year and I can do a full history and physical. So I just want to encourage you to, like, it's not a limitation, but it's also an advantage to not know enough and then be open to learning it. And now with the unaccompanied minors that are coming to the hospital, it's a great skill set and it's so amazing to practice.
Good question. Does anyone else want to chime in on that?
Similar to, I think, most programs, we have interpreters in place via either, like he mentioned, video or telephone, and definitely in person. And then for our residents who have those language skills, they can have an opportunity to continue to use them through either continuity clinic experiences, or some of our residents have actually gotten certified as interpreters. I think this is universal for most programs.
A question. I'll go ahead and throw out there. It's maybe variable between the programs, but how accessible would you say that the attendings are? I mean, would you say that everyone who's there likes to teach and is open to being called when needed?
Since our program doesn't really have too many fellows, we almost exclusively work with our attendings. So typically whenever you're on any of like the services with them, like if you have any questions or like any concerns about the patient, the person you're calling isn't going to be a fellow or anything like that. You're going to be calling the attending directly and working with them directly. So they're very open to, teaching residents and being in contact with them because you are kind of like the first point of contact essentially between the patient and them.
And I'll jump in as well, guys. Hi, I'm Nadia. I'm one of the chief residents here with UT Houston. Very excited to be here with Dr. Amori. And I completely agree, having access to your attending is so key. And obviously we have a great relationship with our fellows as well. But I can't tell you how many attending cell phone numbers in my phone right now after spending the last 3 years with them. And they're super receptive, super open. There is really no such thing as a dumb question, and trust me, I ask them. So yeah, definitely very open.
Thanks.
If I could just go in on this question also. So I can definitely tell you from my personal experience, one of the things that freaked me out the most was to do a consult, to call another doctor that I've never spoken to about a patient. And I can definitely say they are always they're always listening. They do a great job. They teach. And I've never felt that I was ever put down, especially when I was learning about something or having any kind of question that I ever had. And like everyone is saying, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Another thing I love telling residents is that you're not done being a resident until your last day on your third year, once you turned in your patients.
If there's no other questions, I'll ask, are there like specific both research expectations, but also opportunities?
Yeah, so for us, it is, so every resident that comes in through our program is automatically kind of put into a QI kind of like research project, usually within like the first couple of months, like typically around October or so. And they're kind of guided through it by some of our senior attendings on like how to actually construct a QI project. And this gives them a little bit of time to kind of get familiarized with the actual hospital and things that they like might want to do as actual projects for QI. And typically they'll usually present this at a regional kind of conference that we have like held at our own hospital. And during this time, you can also pick up like more projects, and it's very, they very much encourage it. It's not necessary to do additional projects if you're not interested in doing them, but they do encourage it. And the attendings are available for like, mentorship for those different kind of projects like that. You really just need to kind of go up to like one of the attendings or somebody in GME and just ask them and say like, I'm interested in this. Do you know like who would be interested in kind of helping me out with this, or if somebody could guide me through this? And we have probably like a list of people that we can like kind of point you in the right direction of or get you in touch with.
This is very similar. Sorry, this is Emma from UT Houston. Ours is very similar in that while not a requirement, we do have a structured QI curriculum. So you should leave residency with at least 2 to 3 QI projects that hopefully you can put on your CV if you're applying to fellowship. And definitely, as he mentioned, the mentorship exists. So usually it's not that the project isn't there, it's just reaching out and connecting to the right people. And then what's nice about, at least with the medical center, you don't necessarily have to limit yourself to within our department or within our hospital. There are other institutions or even undergrad institutions, public health institutions that you can find mentors to as well.
So again, from Texas Tech, here at El Paso. Here, one of the first things that the program likes to do is for you to choose a mentor. If you're going into fellowship, we really try to, they really try to push you towards getting a mentor on there. And here, almost every attending has multiple projects going on. So you can either talk about starting up your own or joining one that they have already started. And very similar, we do have a curriculum that we try to go over, especially during didactics. We try to set up some time where we'll go over QI projects just so you can have that knowledge with you.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna ask some questions from the chat. Claudia Perez asks, how much autonomy do you offer your residents throughout their training?
Hey, so this is Vaibhav again from Baylor San Antonio. So for us, when you come on as an intern, it kind of depends on like how comfortable you feel and how well you're kind of performing at the beginning, and it's kind of tailored to like each resident based off of that. But our attendings will essentially kind of assess like how you're doing, and we'll be like they're always going to be there, or your senior residents are always going to be like right behind you. But the more confident you are and like the more like you're doing things correctly and things like that, the more we'll kind of step back and let you take charge essentially. So the idea is that essentially by the time that you finish up with your intern year, you're able to kind of like, lead the team, kind of like, do like all those kinds of things essentially as a second year. And that by the time that you're a third year, you're able to kind of like function or finish up with your third year, you're able to function like as like an attending basically, whether that means you're going to be in general pediatrics or private pediatrics or like as a hospitalist, like in inpatient ward or something like that. Our goal is to make sure that you have the support that you need to feel like as you're supported and that there's a safety net behind you, but also so that we can kind of push you a little bit so you're not like sitting like in your comfort zone the entire time and get more comfortable with something that you might be uncomfortable with doing, like such as leading a team or something like that.
Again, Norbert from Texas Tech. So something that I like to think about is that there is no on switch when all of a sudden you're a senior. One day you go in there and then you know everything. As time progresses, you will be given more autonomy. You will be given chances to do all these procedures and to get everything in. And as time progresses, you are expected to be learning as you're going through here, because this is what residency is. It's a whole learning experience. And There's definitely some independence, but there's always someone there to answer any questions that you have, even at night or during the day. You always have your attendings, you always have your senior resident, and there's always someone that you can always go to and ask if you have any questions.
And then I'll wrap up from the UT Houston side. So I think autonomy is something that's really challenging to balance. You have, some people who really want to go for it, and you have other people who are a little bit more on the timid side. But I think that on our pediatric side, especially with our hospitalist team, they kind of individually assess you, and then they'll sort of work with you. And if they feel like they need to push you, they will push you. And if they feel like you're overdoing it, they'll kind of work on reeling you back in. And so as your knowledge base grows, on a first year level, you'll definitely be seen as kind of someone who they're really focusing on. But when you turn into your second and third year level, you're definitely the leader of the team. Your opinion really matters to how the plan is going to move forward. And I think the autonomy really skyrockets on those 2 years. And so it's a gradual process, but also the census we have is really impressive, where you are going to be at a point where you're going to at some point need to make a decision because the attending is at the bedside of somebody else. And those are moments of growth. And, you are allowed to make minor mistakes. We can usually come back from just about anything. But I think the good thing here is that they will let you get that extra lab. They'll let you get that extra study you may not need, but then you'll learn that you didn't need it at some point. And we're a teaching program, so it's okay here.
Thank you. We have a couple more questions. I think these kind of tie in. One is, how do you feel the diversity of the population served is represented by the residents in the program? And what is the program's approach for IMG applicants?
So as far as kind of the diversity of our population, at least for San Antonio and probably a lot of South Texas in general, very, very large like Hispanic population in our hospital that we serve mostly. And I feel like we have quite a few of our own residents who are Hispanic as well. A lot of people actually from San Antonio who grew up in San Antonio who end up actually coming back here for residency training. So a lot of them actually will end up like staying on like as a general pediatrician, or will be working in like the nearby area, or might go on to do fellowship in another area, but they usually will always kind of come back around and work in this area or in South Texas somewhere. So in that sense, I do feel like as we have a good amount of diversity. As far as kind of like our approach for IMG students, again, like I said earlier, our program is kind of like more kind of like leaning towards a more holistic kind of like view or approach like towards recruitment. So some of the things I would kind of recommend is to kind of talk about exactly like why like our program specifically, what about it kind of drew you to us, and to kind of like really kind of sell yourself like on your application as to like why we should like why we want to take you, as far as kind of like different like experiences in life that you've done, more so than just kind of like board scores or like test scores essentially.
Again, Norbert from Texas Tech. Diversity here is everywhere. Like I don't think there's just a little reiterate a little bit about how I was going about. Like we do have the border right here, so we do see a large Hispanic population, but we also have huge military bases that we see people from all over the world. And just because we're in the location that we are, we do see people from other states that are coming over here just to get services. Even with our classes, you would see a huge diversity from just different locations. You see them from all over the place. I would definitely consider this program to be a little IMGM friendly. But it's not a point for or against. It's more of how you are as a complete person. What did you do beforehand? What kind of experience do you have? What things are you bringing to the table? And of course, at the end of the day, you have to sell yourself and see how you're going to do. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't see it as a negative thing that you're an IMG.
I want to just, this is Emma from UT Houston. I just wanted to also chime in as well. I think these are really fantastic questions, and I thank you both for being bold enough to ask them. So I think to answer the first one about the diversity of the population served, is it represented by the residents in the program? I would say we're working on it, but I also know nationally, having actually just written a paper about this, like this is a national problem and there's a lot of structures in place that need to be changed even before people enter medical school to really flip the way that medicine looks like. But I think my colleagues have all mentioned it. I think what's nice is that we're all working together to police put policies in place to change things, whether it comes with holistic review, standardized rubrics, acknowledging the fact that many of our standardized tools that we've used as metrics, like the USMLE, even letters of recommendation are biased, and acknowledging that and recognizing that and not putting as much weight as we've done in the past in those things. And then I would say, once again, what's nice is that I think at least at our program, I'm sure at other programs, we're being more deliberate to keep ourselves accountable through the numbers. And so once again, tracking who we're inviting for interviews, who we're actually then, who's coming to the interviews, who we're ranking to match, and who eventually matches with us to see where we need to continue to improve. Because I think this is going to be an ongoing process for everybody. But as somebody who identifies as underrepresented in medicine, it's a process we're all committed to.
Those were great questions and great answers. Thank you guys so much. The next question comes to us via Twitter. How involved are your residents in state organizations like TPS, as well as do residents get any time off for advocacy efforts or attending conferences? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and jump in on this one from UT. We take advocacy super seriously at our program. We have the Texas Pediatric Society that hosts an advocacy day. Every year we allow residents, any resident who's on any sort of rotation, to try to take time off to go. We've gone for various issues over the years. I got to go the year that they went and spoke with legislators about gun violence. We've also started letter writing campaigns when it comes to vaccination or anti-vaxxers in the area. And we have a really great physician, Dr. Sandy McKay, who we pulled from Missouri just for her work in advocacy. She's such a force to be reckoned with, and she really guides a lot of our advocacy work. She trains you in a rotation during your first year of residency, specifically in advocacy. And then you're given several protected opportunities in the following years to speak with legislators, work on letter writing campaigns, and really learn how to manage the political side of medicine, which is something that I think we underestimate.
No. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll keep going then. So I'll jump in for San Antonio. So advocacy is pretty big as well for us as well. Like she was saying earlier with TPS, we definitely make sure for Advocacy Day to make sure that like any residents that are interested, and we encourage this highly for them to like go out and actually take part in Advocacy Day. One of the things that we also do specifically regarding that, though, is that we have started in the last couple of years, like actually kind of, presenting during our noon conferences or like during our Friday didactics, just like what all bills are kind of like going through like the legislature right now, and what exactly like voting against or for the bill like will actually entail, and how that's going to affect our pediatric patients specifically. So that lets us be a little bit more informed about it. And then we have tools and like other things like that will specify who you need to write to, like who your legislature is, things like that, basically, so you can try and make an impact through letter writing campaigns or calling them and different things like that. In addition to that, we also are focusing a lot now on, not only just kind of like, statewide kind of politics, but also like more local as well, because sometimes like the biggest changes that we can kind of make are on a more like local level than just like a large statewide level. So we have a community and advocacy rotation in our second year as PGY2s, where we will kind of like learn about all the different resources that like a lot of our underserved families and patients like actually have to utilize or try to utilize, at least in San Antonio, and to kind of like learn like what that process is like exactly. And then try and like work out like how you can kind of improve that process or do any kind of QI projects to kind of help improve that process. So kind of like very much so on both just a larger scale and also like on a smaller scale as well.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Fatima Gutierrez. I'm sorry. I'm the program director for Texas Tech El Paso. My connection has been really spotty. So thank you, Norbert. You've been doing a fantastic job. I just wanted to reply to this, what part of advocacy. So we do have our border health and advocacy rotation that you either take during your first or your second year. So we incorporate advocacy topics Here we're also having our residents print in an advocacy project, which interrupts
Gutierrez, I
advocacy
believe
topics that
your
arise, during our occasions. Like we
sound
had
isn't
stuff.
working right now. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no, then Norbert, no, don't worry. Norbert can take over.
Hi, how you doing, guys? So one of the things that we have is called the Border Health and Advocacy Elective, which is a specific month where you will go over different ways and different things that doctors are doing, things to get involved to try to help out in any way that you want to have. Because we have the border here, we do try to have the emphasis. You will get real hands-on experience. You'll go, you'll talk to judges, you'll talk from lawyers from both sides of the issues. You'll talk to someone who's pro immigration. You'll talk to someone who's not for immigration. You'll even talk to immigration officers, and you'll hear their point of view. And at the end, like, you will have the most informed decision, and you will definitely make the right decision, whatever decision that you want to do. We get really, really hands-on with trying to help with anything that we have. And me saying that we only do advocacy for border health would be a giant lie. There are multiple doctors here, and we have many doctors who are very, very, they just have this thing inside them that drives them to do advocacy. They'll do anything to try to help people who have low health. We have had projects to try to bring water to communities that don't have water, and we'll do things to even get books to people who don't have books. So our program has lots of people who are very into advocacy, and we'll try to, we won't point you in any direction, but we'll definitely get you with people who are very strong in their opinions. And at the end, you will have everyone's point of view.
Okay, I believe we were supposed to end the breakout room at 55, but they haven't told us yet. So we'll clarify that in just a minute. Does anyone have any closing remarks?
We have 5 more minutes.
All right, then 5 more minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, so I have one question here. What is the best way to talk to residents from your program outside of the resident chat after this?
I know for us, you can go into our website and you can email anyone that you want. You probably think I'm very biased and that's why they put me here, but you can email anyone. I know my program's pretty friendly, or very, very friendly actually. And any questions that you have, you could always email us, and you can just choose randomly, go any, mini, mimey, to.
So same thing for us as well. Essentially, you can literally just email like Lisa, and like she'll put you in contact with like any of the residents that you want to. You can also just through Instagram. Like we've actually had like a lot of our visiting like medical students actually reach out to residents that they've seen like on our Instagram, being like, hey, like you were the one who was like in this post, or so on and so forth. So you're more than welcome to like reach out like that as well. Like our residents who are kind of like working on that, like we'll definitely like make sure to like plug you in with like other residents that you might be interested in working with, or might be going into field that you might be interested in, and so on and so forth.
And we also have a few ways to get in touch with our residents. We don't actually have their emails up on our website yet. That is something that we're looking to revamp here shortly. But anytime you guys need to get in touch, I'll put my email in the chat box. And that way you guys can get in touch with us, and I'll make sure the heads of the future Peds Res webinar have that information as well. And then the other thing is our UTHPD residents Instagram is very active. We're constantly featuring residents. And honestly, DMing us is a pretty easy way to get in touch with any of the residents and maybe get one-on-one information as well. But thank you guys so much for having us.
Real quick, is any of the programs having virtual coffee hours or open houses? If you want to put that in the chat also. Any information?
I don't know if we have one formally planned yet, but once we do, we'll most likely feature it on our Instagram. So I would go ahead and recommend, if you haven't already, following us at UTHPD Residents. It's kind of our main method that we have for reaching out to people. And we'll be featuring probably stories and maybe some posts as well for when we'll be hosting those.
Hi, this is Ophelia. I did forget to mention, Dr. Gutierrez chatted about it, but every interview season we have 3 or 4 happy hours, and any any student who interviews has the invite to join in.
I see Nicole already posted in the chat, but Future Peds Res definitely does a good job at kind of disseminating information. I know I'm totally biased in saying that we do a good job, but we try to let people know of any programs doing open houses. So if you follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well, you can catch up with other programs on there as well.
Well, it looks like we're closing, so I will see you guys soon in the big chat room. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everybody. See you soon.